So we're talking about Palworld today, which, if you don't know, is a game that came out recently that is immensely popular. I think this is even outdated at this time. I think this is the most recent stat here, but 4 million sales in 3 days, as well as being the number 5 most played game ever, period, at a single moment. So this is on Steam. It might even be higher right now, but Palworld on Steam has beaten a large majority of games, like crazy games, Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, Valheim, Call of Duty, Terraria. It is number 5 most played game ever, with an all-time peak of 1,200,000, just shy of 1.3 million. I think this number might even be outdated. Who knows at this time? But the only games beating it for an all-time peak is PUBG, which is like, there must have been like 2 games out during that ancient archaic time. Anyways, Counter-Strike 2, which I think we can all understand. Counter-Strike. Lost Ark, I'm a little surprised. Like, I played Lost Ark. I liked Lost Ark. I enjoyed Lost Ark. I was not familiar with it being this popular, if I'm being honest. So that's a little surprising. And Dota 2, which is understandable as well. It was kind of like the MOBA before League of Legends came out. Frankly, very basically, it is a very popular game, Palworld. 4 million players and 4 million purchases, sales. People have, it's sort of the meme game, right? People have described this game as like Pokemon with guns. If I was to describe it, having played it during early access and a little bit, I have about a little over 20 hours clocked into the game. I would describe it as like Pokemon, as in you capture these creatures, you fight with them, you battle with them, combined with like Valheim and Rust. If you're familiar with these, it's kind of like these resource management based building games, sort of these 2 games combined. I think the main thing about the game is that it has this very sort of jokey slapstick look to it. It looks like a fake game. One of my friends, I was talking to him, I was like, hey, do you want to play Palworld? And he was like, that's a real game? I thought that was a joke. It's known for having like the integration of like more adult content, such as guns. What if you had guns and you could shoot Pokemon? That's basically the question this game is answering. And basically, the most important thing about it is that it's fun. It's like actually fun. I don't think I've had this much fun with a game in a long time. In fact, I've been very burnt out with gaming in general. I've told you guys, how many times have I said like, man, I just don't know what to play. I don't like these popular games like League of Legends. I can't get into Valorant. Like, I just don't know what to really play. And I feel like I was very burnt out with gaming. I can't remember the last time I binged a game like 4 or 5 days in a row till Palworld came out recently. It says something about how fun the game is. I think the question is, we sort of answered it already, but the question is like, why? Why is it such a phenomenon? I think the most basic answer is like, well, it's fun. But a lot of games are fun, right? Outer Wilds is fun, some people say. I'm just kidding. I finished that recently and it was a very great experience. It was very cathartic. I think one of the best games ever. But, you know, people say Valorant is fun. I don't think so. But, like, you know, a lot of games are fun. So what about Palworld makes it so successful? I think you can't talk about Palworld without talking about Pokemon. It's very similar to Pokemon. In fact, I have, in an act of genius irony, I've worn my Pokemon jacket. This brand is Atsuko. Not sponsored. Actually, not sponsored. Anyways, why is Palworld so popular other than the fact that it's just fun, right? Like I said, a lot of games are fun. And I think it has to do with Pokemon. We all love Pokemon. Who doesn't love Pokemon? Look at this fucking fat fuck. Look at that goddamn fat Chonkachu fuck. Everyone loves Pokemon. Everyone sees that. Oh, Pikachu. Everyone loves Pokemon. And we play the games. But I do think the sentiment, for a while, I was going to say lately, but I think for a while that Pokemon has been kind of, I don't know, maybe lacking. Dare I say bad? I mean, before I even started recording this, I was just raging about how bad the Pokemon designs have been. Some businessman at Nintendo or Game Freak is watching this. Fucking Matsumoto-san's watching this going, oh, you think that's bad? And we're gonna see like the next evolution of Conkeldurr. Giga Conkeldurr is gonna come out in the next Pokemon game. Just to spite me, I swear. People have been wanting a more funner Pokemon experience. I think, put simply, people just want Pokemon to be more fun. And I think what we talked about before is that there's this conversation of like, well, you're a grown adult. How could you expect to find enjoyment from a game targeted to children? And I think this is a very like disingenuous thing to say, because there's a lot of games and a lot of media in general, like intended for children, that adults can enjoy. I mean, let's talk about Marvel, superhero movies. That's a kid's thing, superheroes, comic books. Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't think they're making Sonic games with like, oh yes, this 28-year-old person with a full-time job is gonna have a ball. No, it's all intended. When I see Sonic, I'm like, man, I fuck the shit out of Sonic. You know, it's all intended. Like, they don't intend these things to be adult. yeah, I'm gonna draw giantess fetish porn of Sonic with his feet out. Like, they don't intend these things to be oriented for adults, but that doesn't mean that adults can't enjoy it. In fact, let's just rewind the clock. I think there are plenty of adults that enjoyed Pokemon, even though a lot of us might have been kids. I think adults enjoyed it too. And also, I have been an adult and I have enjoyed Pokemon. Yes, I was younger, but I was by no means a kid when I was still enjoying Pokemon. I think what it is like, we talked about this the other day, where yes, we grew up, and maybe there's an argument, people want to say like, oh, you're growing out of the games. It's not meant for you. It's meant for children. But I think there's something to do with how it's served up. I think there's something to be said about how these games are. The mechanics of it might be very rudimentary, might be simple to a degree, might be quote unquote meant for children. But I think what makes it so unpalatable to adults is its packaging. The example I gave was Pokemon Snap, the original Pokemon Snap. I was a kid when I played it, but I enjoyed it very much. But also, my mother played it, and my aunt. I remember my aunt getting angry at me because she took a picture of like the Mew, and I was a dumb kid, and I overwrote her save file with like a fucking dumbass picture of a Starmie zoomed up like this. You know, it's adults can enjoy that stuff. And so the reason I bring up Pokemon Snap, it's because they made a new Pokemon Snap, a remake of Pokemon Snap, and I was very excited for this game. I was like, oh, I remember Pokemon Snap. I had a great time playing this. My family had a great time playing this. I'm so excited for the next Pokemon Snap game. And I bought it, and I could not bear it. I could not stand playing that game. Why? I think it's because it was just so dumbed down. And what do I mean by dumbed down? It's not that the game itself was, oh, well, you're an adult, you can't enjoy a children's game, because mechanically taking pictures of Pokemon, just pressing A, you move and you go, that's not inherently an adult mechanic. It's not like some kind of adult themes or some kind of highbrow adult gaming. It's still very rudimentary, but what's the difference? It's that it's packaged like you're a fucking dum-dum. I remember playing it, and it's like, it just babies you so much. You boot up Pokemon Snap, it's like, hello, trainer. Take this camera. Press A to take the camera from me. Great, now press A to use the camera. Press A to shit your pants. Need your diaper changed? Here comes Chansey. You know, it just like, it was so frustrating to get through this game. They wouldn't let me play it. They just assumed I was literally, I mean, you know, they always say, well, it's a kid's game. What do you expect? It's like, do these kids have brain damage? Like, what kind of kids are they making these games for? It's so dumbed down. It's so inaccessible. It's so unpalatable to anyone with like more than a single brain cell, I feel. And that's why I think Palworld has become so popular, is because I think a lot of people, yes, Palworld does take it to the extreme. There's guns and violence, large implications of some sort of unethical sexual activity between the pals and the people. But that being said, I think people are just like, oh, at its core, I like what Pokemon is. The creatures, and they're cute and cuddly and cool, and I can use them and fight with them, this kind of genre of creature collecting and battling with them. But we want it to be actually good, or at least stimulating. I can't remember the last time I think a lot of these experiences that streamers are having, you see, maybe you yourself go through this, and you go, oh, what's that? And then you upgrade it, and you're like, wait, I can give it a what? And you equipped it, and we go out there, and I shoot the gun, or I launch the paint gullet in a missile launcher, and it's like, whoa, and it's like, wait, I can make a saddle for this, I could ride it, and you start riding it, and this sort of natural wonder, childlike wonder and progression, I have not felt that in gaming in general, but definitely not Pokemon. This sense of accomplishment and wonder and just fun. Pokemon has lacked this for a very long time. Also, a lot of what Palworld presented, everything pointed to it being like hated. It looks weird. It's a lot of conflicting art styles. A lot of the conversation has been about Palworld plagiarizing designs from Pokemon, and that being a problem. And what I said earlier to my chat is that, like, it's a shame that this is a problem for Palworld being sort of outed as plagiarizing a lot of these designs from Pokemon, because like I was saying to them, I don't think they needed to do that, because Pokemon designs have been really kind of mid for a while. Pokemon designs have not been good for a very, very long time, especially in recent times. I personally think Gen 3 was like the peak of Pokemon design, and Gen 4 still solid, but after that, it's just been declining. Of course, you run out of ideas, I guess. After you do crab and pigeon, literally a dozen eggs, there's not much room to go after that, right? I think it's a shame that they even did that, because I think that that's not why people like Palworld. I don't think people play Palworld and go, that reminds me of a Luxray. I love this game. People aren't thinking that. So it's such a negative impact to your game. I don't know why they even felt the need to do that. So there's a PAL that is pretty much looks like this Pokemon Primarina, and is an example of this sort of plagiarism. Primarina? Fucking ugly ass design, dude. Why you need well, like that's why I'm flabbergasted. Like, the plagiarism and the ethics aside, like, why are you copying designs that are bad? Here's the thing, and I talked about this earlier. The only reason that Pokemon can get away with they kind of, you know, they do a lot of bad designs, they do a lot of good designs, but it doesn't really matter because Pokemon has the brand. It's Pokemon. Look at this. I'm like, oh, this fucking jacket's sick. Look, it's a Pokemon jacket. Do you think it's because I play Scarlet Violet and I'm like, I fucking love this game? No, it's just like, it's nostalgia. It's the brand. The Pokemon has this mysticism to it. Palworld doesn't have that. It doesn't have that brand power. It doesn't have that lore, the story, the mysticism behind it. So they're not going to take advantage of copying these designs. And I think it's also what held them back. There's been a lot of talk about Pokemon, Nintendo. They're like, oh, they're getting ready to sue. Oh, they're gonna have a problem with this. I think Pokemon, if I was Pokemon, I'd be like, great. It's actually so good they did this. It's so good that they seem like a ripoff of us, that their designs are plagiarized, because now they don't have a chance. Because if I think that Palworld could have been an actual serious like competition for Pokemon. Heaven forbid they actually were original. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's bad, it's so popular that because they plagiarized. It's like, I don't think you need to worry about that, because I think they shot themselves in the foot. It's not going anywhere. I think that Pokemon has nothing to worry about because they are gimmicky and kind of silly and they kind of plagiarize some designs. I think that's going to be their own undoing in the long run. No one's going to care about Palworld in the future, unfortunately. Like, I think it's a really fun game. I really do. I had a lot of fun playing it, but there's no longevity there. So it's like, let's not get so up in arms about Palworld, because, you know, there's a lot of issues with it. There's like these talks about the company supporting AI in the past and a lot of these plagiarism that's been going on with the designs and stuff. It's like, dude, this game's gonna fall off because it needed to be its own thing, and being so compared to Pokemon is gonna be its downfall. By some miracle, they can fledge it out. Who knows? But I don't think so. I don't think Pokemon has anything to worry about. I'm not gonna buy no fucking Palworld jacket. It doesn't have any sort of cohesiveness in its feeling. It doesn't conjure the sort of mysticism that Pokemon has. Yeah, it doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have spirit. I'm not gonna buy Palworld, like, check it out. It's a Palworld, like, orb. I don't see, that's the thing. I know Pokeball. Everyone knows Pokeball. I don't even know what the Palworld, is it a Pal orb? See, I played that game for 20 hours straight. It's a gimmick, Palworld. And hey, don't get me wrong. Like, I think it's really fun. Again, it's such a shame that it's such a focus on the Pokemon aspect of it, like the pals, the creatures. That's not what makes the game fun. It's sort of gimmick and it's sort of a draw. But I find the most enjoyable part is the progression of the base building, being able to send the pals to work and having the system become more efficient and leveling up. That's what is the biggest shame about Palworld and all this drama surrounding it, is that what makes it fun is not that I see this thing, I'm like, that reminds me of Pikachu. I'm having such a fun time. No, it's just like, there's been so many games where things remind me of Pikachu, but I don't give it 2 seconds of thought. It's because the actual like game aspect of it is really engaging and it's really fun. I will say I haven't gone to late game. Who knows the longevity of it? Like, once you get to the max level, where the room to grow is. There's 111 pals, I think, something around that. Like, I'm not really sure. I'm assuming they're going to do DLC with like more pals, probably. And yeah, you know, I don't think it's going to give Pokemon a run for its money, but I can imagine a Palworld 2 with like a different map and different pals. Sure, I could totally imagine that. But yeah, it doesn't really, they don't really give you a reason to care about the pals, because what they did was tap into our primalistic and violent nature. which for years, since I've became Professor Lando, I have been talking about committing heinous acts to Pokemon. And you guys are like, Professor Lando, you're so fucking sick. You fucking can't do that to Pokemon. But look what happened. Palworld came out and everyone's actually like, you know what? Actually, I've been wanting to do this to Pokemon this whole time. It's like, God, I knew it. I knew I wasn't the weird one. We have this, like, I have just always thought to myself, man, I wish I could just fucking do something fucked up to this Pokemon. And now we can. And millions of people are in Palworld. I feel admonished in that. And it's just, again, it's kind of slapstick. It's just like when you load the Pangolin into the rocket launcher and you shoot it and it KOs itself. That's pretty funny, and it's satisfying to do that. Man, I wish I could take Pikachu and just... like, I wish I could do that, but I can't, because Pokemon, they're just family friendly or whatever. Going back, before I get away from this, I'm giving Palworld a lot of flack for this fiasco with the Pokemon designs. Why did they plagiarize these designs? And there's this conversation about AI art being used. I think there is some confusion. I think the developers have been found to use AI in previous games and have been supporting AI art in the past. I don't think there's any hard evidence that this game Palworld has AI. That being said, it's not an excuse for them, and it's still something that I disagree with. You know, that being said, it's such a focus about the art. I'm giving Palworld a hard time because I'm like, why are you copying dog shit Pokemon designs? And, you know, I'm giving Pokemon a hard time. What is Conkeldurr? Who made that? Conkeldurr is like your 5-year-old wakes up and goes, Daddy, I had a nightmare. I'm like, oh, son, come here. What is it? I had a nightmare, something monster. Draw it for me, son. He looked like this, and he would draw Conkeldurr. So it's like, this is not really a message to Pokemon, but more to Palworld. Like, Palworld, you could have, like, escaped this whole fiasco with being accused of plagiarism, and rightfully so. Some of these are kind of suspicious. But Professor Lando, you're shitting on Conkeldurr so much. Why don't you make some Pokemon? And I thought to myself, sure, let's do it. Let's draw some fake-mon, I think they call it. Colloquially, it's called. Like Palworld, look how easy it could have been. Because I'm no professional artist, but I bet we can come up with some passable stuff. Let's draw some. Give me 2 typings that you see in Pokemon. You know, it's like grass, fire, like fairy fighting. Fairy fighting. I feel that's a pretty hard one. Multiple people said ballerina, so let's do ballerina. All right, there's my fake mon. It's based on a ballerina, and its typing is fairy fighting. I didn't want to give it a humanoid shape because I feel that's not very fairy-like. So I feel like some kind of smaller, kind of nymph-like look. So there's my fake mon. You know what's crazy? It's that, like, I mean, I'm no game developer, obviously, but isn't this the fun part? Like you got a team together, you have money, and you're like, okay, we get to make a game, and it's kind of like Pokemon with guns. Isn't the best part about that process being able to make the Pokemon, making the creatures, making the character? I feel like that would be the best part about it. Isn't that the fun part? All right, we're calling this I don't know a name. Fucking Brawlerina. That's kind of a cute one. Brawlerina, the tiptoe Pokemon. Ballerina numbers have dwindled in the past decade. For poachers desiring just a sniff of its eccentric stench. All right, let's do another one. Forget the typing. Give me like a thing like that will work off. You know, like turtle or spaceship. Like, give me some kind of like. Let's forego the typing for now. Because honestly, you can make the typing fit whatever, right? Because you can draw a design, change the color blue. Suddenly it's water, or give it like a flame on the top of it. Suddenly it's fire. You know, so a ghost. Okay, you know, let's do simple. Let's do like a very simple. That you can imagine Palworld making, like ghost, very obvious archetype. Like we'll do like ghost, very simply ghost. See, I'm curious because I'm putting myself like if I was a designer on Palworld, what you would do is like, okay, we need a ghost pal. So my first go-to is like, okay, which Pokemon have been ghosts? See, it's like, where is the line between inspiration and plagiarism, right? Not the pals that are clearly plagiarized. There's like a fine line. No, I wouldn't even say that. It's a very obvious line between like inspiration, plagiarism. So right now I'm thinking, okay, what are ghost Pokemon? Gengar, Sarcophagus. There's like the candle one, and then you think of other media because I mean I think even Pokemon does that. They draw inspiration from elsewhere. So what's like something in media related to ghosts? Ghost Pepper? That's an interesting one. Okay, sure. Ghost Pepper. I thought it'd be cool. It's like a genie. It's like a flaming thing. And it's like a genie lamp, but it's like a pepper. That was my first idea. Which is good, I feel. I want to do something cooler though. Yeah, maybe something like this. There. There's our ghost pepper. All right, we'll do one more. We'll do one more. Fat fuck. Okay, we'll make a fat fuck. What would be a good fat fuck? Don't just say, you're just saying things that are fat fucks. I'm saying like, give me a prompt. As you're just like Snorlax. You want what? You want me to just draw Snorlax? What are you talking about? A bee. That's an interesting one. Okay, let's do a bee. This is my fat bee. All right, there we go. Those are our 3 little fake Pokemon. Okay, we got Fat Bee, Ghost Pepper, and our Ballerina Foot. So yeah, I mean, that wasn't to like, those designs weren't like freaking amazing by any means, but just, I mean, look, we just did that like right now. And again, I'm not like a professional artist or anything. I just like to draw like things and like that was serviceable, or at the very least, a good springboard. Like, I feel if we just sat down and you gave me and my chat 5 hours, we can make a whole gen. They're not all gonna be bangers, but I feel we could do like a pretty solid fake gen. Like, I don't think it's that hard to come up with fake Pokemon. At least, like, that is not just direct plagiarisms. I also wanted to talk about, like, you know, I think, like, if you watch a video or anyone talk about Palworld, it's like, you can't avoid talking about Pokemon. But I also think, like, I don't think you can avoid talking about Digimon, too. I think there's something to be said about Digimon. This should be Digimon, a mature take on Pokemon. That's what Digimon has first and foremost always been. I've always liked Digimon better than Pokemon. I always thought the Digimon designs were cooler. It was kind of scary, too, Digimon. Like, it's no wonder why it's not as popular as Pokemon. But I feel like it could definitely be way more popular than it is, but they always seem to just settle to be like this weird, very focused on being like a anime. Like, I see all these games come out. There's like Digimon, I mean, Cyber Sleuth, and then there's, which is good. I like Cyber Sleuth, but there's also like Digimon World Survive or something. And it just, they're always like narrowed into like, I guess the Japanese market. That's what I conclude. Like, when I look at that, I'm like, that's such a Japanese like thing. Pokemon's Japanese, but like they have a very good grasp on like the world market and what people want to consume outside of Japan. Whenever I see a Digimon game or even just Digimon stuff in general, it's like, it's just so like this very specific anime-y type of thing. And yeah, I'm not saying Digimon could be exactly like what Palworld is. Like, it's different. Oh, we want more mature Pokemon. We want a Pokemon that's more directed towards a mature audience. It's like, we have that, man. We've had that for a very long time. And it's called Digimon. And it's just such a shame that, you know, people are like, Pokemon's dropping the ball. It's like, dude, what about Digimon dropping the ball for the past 2 decades? I heard the TCG for Digimon is like really good, and the designs are really cool, and I like Cyber Sleuth. It's just Digimon could also plays a part here and sort of leaving up this, I want to call it like a power vacuum for Palworld to come and kind of swoop in here. It's like, yes, Pokemon put a lot on the table, but I also think Digimon did as well and continues to. I would really like to see Digimon get more popular and maybe come out with either a game or a show or something, some sort of media that we could enjoy. And because I would very much like to be saying, oh, I like Digimon. I'm playing the Digimon game where you shoot, because you talk about Pokemon with guns. Digimon, for the longest time, that's been what Digimon is. That's what we joke about. We literally call Digimon Pokemon with guns because there are literally Digimon with like Gatling guns on their arm or missile rockets in their fucking booba. That's literally what Digimon is. Digimon, please. I feel like there's room for that. There's a lot of talk about Palworld copying, like, not just the designs of the Pokemon, but like mechanically. Oh, this game is similar to this other game. It's just like Pokemon. It's just like Valheim or Rust, and that's why we don't like it. There's something interesting here because we saw this happen before in the past, but the response was way more positive. Team Fortress 2, Overwatch. We saw Overwatch is just Team Fortress 2 because the game types, push the payload, capture the point, it's the same thing. Hero-based character shooter. You can pick from a myriad of characters. They all like synergize with each other in different ways. You can pick fast characters, scout. You can pick characters that heal, medic. You can pick characters that focus on tanking or attack. It's basically the same game, but we weren't saying like, I mean, maybe there's some people that were saying that it is similar. Now, I'm sure there's people that did have sort of an outcry at the time, but generally everyone loved Overwatch. And I think a large part about it is that it was wholly like as a brand and as the way it presented itself, it was very original. And not only original, it presented its own story and sort of lore to the characters, and they gave you a reason. It had a soul to it. It did have a soul to it. Counter-Strike and Valorant, they're not the same game, obviously, but it's the same thing. Like, come on. You know, Dota and League of Legends are two completely different games, but they're MOBAs, you know what I mean? So I think basically my comparison is that, like, here with Palworld, like, maybe if it was wholly original with its designs and its aesthetic and everything, maybe people would have overlooked the fact that it's essentially just copying the Pokemon formula or copying this other game formula. Yeah, so in conclusion, what is there really to say? There's no real point to my video. It wasn't to say like, oh yes, play Palworld or you shouldn't play Palworld. It's just sort of like taking a look at what's been going on and sort of voicing my feelings about this phenomena and kind of like my feelings about Pokemon and frustrations with the games, why I was drawn to Palworld. If you want to play it, keep playing it. If you don't want to play it, don't play it. What I think I'm going to do is I'm not going to stream it anymore, but I might go into the settings, bump up the EXP to max, play through one day, unlock all the shit, and I want to try shooting all the missiles and all the little things, items with the pals, and get my fix. Pretty much for streaming, I'm done streaming it. That's my thoughts on Palworld. I think it's a great game. It's very fun. It's a shame that it has all these negative things kind of weighing down what could be, I think, an actual contender for Pokemon. Maybe not one-to-one trading blows, but there could have been something great here. Maybe we'll see a Palworld 2. Right now, it's still one of like the 5th most played game on Steam, period. That's pretty much what I have to say about it. I guess I would like to see Pokemon be a little more palatable for an older audience. I would like to see Palworld shape up with some more originality, and I would like to see Digimon throw itself into the ring too. Digimon seems to have just given up completely on trying to go mano a mano with Pokemon here. I'm not saying it needs to, but I think I think Digimon also leaves a lot on the table here. Conkeldurr fucking sucks. Who was thinking that?